Hi everyone, I'm Josh. 欢迎回到中文播客。
Hi everyone, I'm Jessica, and welcome back to ChinesePod.
今天我们要说的是用的这个字来形容动作。
So today, we're going to be looking at how to describe performing actions using that the character. It's important to note, it's not the same as the possessive the, correct?
对。
So for example, if I want to say my school bag,
我的书包。
that would be a different the. Which the is that?
这个的跟我们要教的的是不一样的。
Okay, it's different from the adverbial function the. The adverbial function the is the two-person radical the.
比如说跑得很快。
Okay, so for example, if you want to say someone runs quickly, you're describing that performing action, that running action.
对。
You would say 他跑得很快. That's the the we're looking at.
好，那我们开始吧。
Let's get started. So how does the structure work exactly? Why don't we have a simple example to really break down and see how it works?
我们用说这个动词好了。
Okay, let's use the to speak verb, simple. Yeah.
Jess, 你觉得我的英文说的怎么样？
Okay, so he's asking me, how's my English? How do I speak English? And I can answer, 你说得很好.
你说的很好。
You speak the very well, right? So it's important here to note that the verb comes before the particle.
好，我们刚刚也说到跑这个动词，对吧？
Great, yeah, 跑, to run is also a verb that can be used by itself, the one character verb.
你可以说跑得很快。
Right, like we talked about earlier, to run quickly, 跑得很快. So who runs quickly?
谁跑得很快呢？
Maybe we can use Kawhi Leonard for all of you basketball fans out there. So we would say,
Kawhi Leonard 跑得很快。
great. Another one that could be a one character verb could be to walk, right?
刚刚说跑，现在说走。
Okay, so who walks, maybe we can use a different adjective. Who walks slowly?
前面的人走得太慢了。
Okay, so here in this example, we're saying the people in front of us are walking too slowly. 走得太慢了. So here, instead of using 很慢, we used a different character. We used 太慢, which is also fine.
所以你可以说前面的人走得太慢了，不好意思，麻烦快一点儿。
Okay, so excuse me, can you walk a little bit quicker, please? Right? That's what you can do if people are driving you crazy and walking slowly in front of you. So far, we've looked at how to use one character verbs or standalone verbs like 跑 or 说. But let's start looking at how to use those tricky VO compound verbs in this grammatical structure.
我们刚刚提到说得很好，对吧？
Yeah, exactly. Recently, I said that you speak very well. 你说得很好.
我说什么说得很好？
Okay, so now we're going to use the object. So he's asking, what do I speak well? And I want to say you speak English well. I want to specify what we're talking about here. So I would say,
我说英文说得很好。
okay, so you or I speak English, speak 得很好. So you have to repeat the verb in this grammatical structure here.
所以你可以说他说中文说得很好。
Exactly. But you can also omit the first verb in this grammatical structure, correct?
对，比如说他中文说得很好。
So you're using that topic of the sentence, like Chinese or English, and you're putting it at the front, which is very common in the Chinese grammatical structure. So here you're saying you Chinese speak 得很好.
比如说你也可以说他法语说得很好。
Okay, so she, French, 说得很好, speaks very well. So just remember, it can get tricky, but you really need to have the verb before the the character.
刚刚我们说到法语说得很好，那你觉得法语和法文差在哪里？
I think the difference would be 法语 is more the spoken French language, correct? So it's
没错。
more specific. And 法文 is kind of all-encompassing, so it's the written and the spoken together.
对，重点是那个文字。
Okay, great. So you can use both, but if you want to be really specific to just speaking, then you can use 英语 if you're speaking about English.
英语或是英文。
All right, so let's have a new example, but maybe we can use a different scenario.
公司最近来了一个新的同事，对吧？
Okay, so recently at work we've had a new coworker. Okay, let's give him a name. What's his name?
叫 Steve 怎么样？
Sure, Steve sounds great. Okay, so we have a new colleague. His name is Steve. And Josh, maybe you can tell us, what is Steve like?
Steve 他是一个友善的人，可是他说话说得很大声。
Ooh, okay. So Steve is a friendly person, but he speaks loudly. So here you said, 他说话说得很大声. But what if I were just to say, 他说得很大声, like we said previously? Is that okay?
英文听起来没什么问题，但说得很大声，你不知道他在说什么呀。
Okay, so in English, it's fine if you say he speaks loudly. 他说得很大声. But with Chinese, you need to have the context. What is he speaking loudly? Or when is he speaking loudly? More information, either in the sentence or implied in the context.
是，比如说你可以说他说英语说得很大声，他说法语说得很大声，或是你想统称，你可以说他说话说得很大声。
Okay, so if you just want to say he speaks loudly in general, you really need to have that 话 object in the sentence, correct?
是。
Perfect. Okay, so he's a loudspeaker, he speaks loudly. What about his dressing? What does he look like?
他今天早上来上班的时候，他穿衣服穿得很随便。
Ooh, okay, so he dresses kind of inappropriately, right? It's a bit of a negative connotation here. We're not saying he's dressing too casually or casually.
Casual 我们说穿得很休闲。
Okay, so we would use a different word, and that would be more neutral, right? It's fine to dress a little casually, but 很随便 is kind of inappropriately. Not great. Okay, so he dresses poorly, he's loud. Poor Steve.
我们说说他写的字怎么样？
Okay, so how does he write now? Let's be nice. Let's say he's a really good writer. Maybe he writes calligraphy really beautifully.
他写书法写得很美。
Okay, so he writes calligraphy beautifully.
但是
Oh no, there's a
他
but.
写英文字写得很不好看。
Interesting. Okay, not sure how that happened, but he's really skilled at writing calligraphy, which is very challenging. But his English alphabet or his English writing is very poor. Okay, great. What's another verb we can use here with this grammar structure?
今天早上我坐他的车来。所以开车怎么样
Okay, so how does he drive? We're still talking about our friend Steve.
？Steve 啊，对，
Our frenemy. I don't know. We're not being very nice. Okay, so how does Steve drive?
所以他开车开得很危险。
Oh no. Okay, so Steve, he drives 危险, 很危险. He drives dangerously or recklessly, correct?
是啊，
What if we want to be nice and not critical and not criticize poor Steve, and we want to say he drives really carefully, really cautiously? How can we say that?
那我们说他开车开得很小心。
Okay, 开车开得很小心, or we can say 他车开得很小心，对不对？ Great.
我们别说 Steve 了，来聊聊别的吧。
Okay, so we're not talking about Steve anymore. Steve quit. I wonder why. And all right, so let's change topics here. What do you want to talk about?
我们聊聊运动怎么样？
Okay, let's chat about how we play sports. Great.
你喜欢做什么运动？
Okay, 我喜欢打羽毛球。
哦，打羽毛球。那
Play badminton.
你打羽毛球打得怎么样？
So you play badminton, play 的怎么样, right? It's important to remember how to use that question structure as well. And I can reply, 我羽毛球打得很好。
你羽毛球打得很好，我羽毛球打得不好。
Okay, so he doesn't play very well. Great. 打棒球呢？
哦，打棒球，我很喜欢打棒球，所以我打棒球打得很好。
So I play baseball, play 得很好. Awesome. So maybe we can move away a little bit from the sports examples and use another verb that's more practical for maybe daily work life. For example,
谈生意怎么样？
okay, 谈生意. So that means to have like business talks or negotiations. How are those going?
那你谈生意谈得怎么样？
Okay, so how are my business talks going? So maybe I work in sales and I can say,
我谈生意谈得很顺利。
okay, so my business negotiations are going 很顺利, are going very smoothly, very nicely.
没错，那顺利这个字，你知道什么意思吗？
So 顺利 means nicely or smoothly, but it can have more than one meaning. It's an interesting adjective that can be used in multiple contexts, so why don't we hear some more examples of how we can use this 顺利?
好，比如说，你可以说工作很顺利。
Okay, my work is going well.
我的爱情不顺利。
My love life is not going very smoothly.
那或者是人生，我的人生很顺利。
Wow, okay, so 人生 is my whole life has been going very smoothly. What lucky person has had the luxury of having a whole life go nicely?
绝对不是我。
不是，也不是我。
或者是弟弟妹妹要上大学了，你可以说祝你学习顺利。
Okay, so you can use this 顺利 to wish someone something nice. So in this example, your siblings are going off to college and you can wish them that their studies go smoothly or go nicely.
祝你学习顺利。
Now let's recap how we've used this the structure today to describe performing actions. So why don't we use an easy verb like play basketball?
打篮球，
Okay, so I can ask you, Josh, 你打篮球打得怎么样?
你可以说我打得很好。
Okay, so here you don't need to repeat the object because it's implied in the context of my question. So you can just say 我打得很好, I play well.
或是你可以说我打篮球打得很好。
Okay, so we're using the repeat verb structure here. Say I play basketball, 打的 play 很好.
或是最后你可以说我篮球打得很好。
I basketball play 得很好.
好的，如果有什么问题，欢迎你们在下面留言。
Okay, so that's all we have for today. If you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to leave them in the comments below.
我是 Josh，
我是 Jessica.
下次见。
See you next time.
Introducing ChinesePod Recap, the app with fast summary lessons. How much time do you have? Join us in the beta program. For more info, go to ChinesePod.com/recap.